All right, well, we want to welcome everybody. I know we'll have more people join in here in just a second, but for all of you guys that got here right on time, we appreciate that. We're excited about today. We wanted, just as all of the 4 SIGs, to get a chance to just be able to share what we're doing. And I think there's a lot of really good work going on. And so I'm not going to take any more time. Michelle's going to start. You'll see we'll kind of have our order figured out, and then we'll take questions in the end. But you also, if you have a burning question and you want to put it in the chat box, we'll see those and we can answer them, if we have time, or we'll answer them all the way at the end. So here's kind of our order of, how we're going to go, but I'll just turn the time over to Michelle and I'm going to disappear for a second.
Thank you, Jessica. So I'm really pleased to be here with everyone today. My name is Michelle Chen, and I'm the Impact Coordinator. That's the Migratory Parent Action Coalition. And of course, our focus is on engaging parents in the education of their children. Also, you see on the screen here, Carmen Medina. She is the Migrant Education Program Director in Pennsylvania, as well as the Bureau Chief, and oversees many other programs. But she's up here because Pennsylvania is the consortium's lead state. I have my contact information here if anyone's interested in questions and contacting me afterwards to talk a little bit more about impact and how we can help your state. Please feel free to reach out. All right, so we have a number of member states, 8 to be exact. You see here before you: Arkansas, Colorado, Georgia, Illinois, Iowa, Kentucky, Montana, and of course I mentioned our lead state, Pennsylvania. The 8 states have come together to work on a number of different projects and tasks that are designed to strengthen the involvement of the migratory parents in the education of their children. And it's worth noting that our work is not just about the parents. We want to engage the children too. We want to make sure that they learn or strengthen their knowledge about how to advocate for themselves and carry that through future generations. We want them to be proactive in their own education. Impact is built on 3 fundamentals, or 3 foundations, if you will, and those are home, school, and community. These are the various ways that parents can engage in the education of their children and that are supported by research. So we want to know at home, what are families doing behind the scenes, or what can they do to support the academics of their children and educational goals? How are families communicating about these topics? And that is one thing that the consortium will be taking a look at. With schools, this is a broad term. We say school, but educators and the migrant programs in general. How are staff working with families? How are families engaging with the school? How welcoming is the school? And all those different facets or aspects of that home school, family school communication. How is that taking place? And are migratory families reaping the benefits of the different activities that school and educational programs are putting out there for them? And then, of course, the community. What lies in the community and what partnerships can be forged with the community to help parents understand the education of their children a little bit better, or to support that education for their kids. And so each of the 3 years of the consortium will be taking a look at parents through the lens of homeschool and community engagements. So in year 1, we're focusing on ways that we can increase families' connections to school. So that first year is a focus on the connections to school. And again, thinking broadly, the educational community, right? So that could be the migrant program, that could be school, the district, any sort of educational entity. We're excited about the work that we've undertaken this year. One of the very first things that we're going to be doing is our work groups are putting together what we're calling M6 for parents. What do parents need to know about this system, and how is it beneficial to families? And so just thinking about what's available there, whether it's a move notification. If family knows that this exists and they can remember to let their migrant contact the recruiter, the service provider, the tutor, whoever, know that they're getting ready to move, and they understand that this will facilitate them getting connected to their new school or their new migrant program, wherever they may go, that's going to be really helpful for them. So we'll be putting together a series of materials to share M6 with parents through the lens of parents, right? We're not gonna teach them how to use the system, of course, that's not possible, but just what would be beneficial about M6 for parents. And one of the very first things that the group has come up with is just putting together a little move card notification. And you see before you just 5 questions that families can, they're sort of prompts or questions that families can use to remind themselves what's important to take for their children's education when they're getting ready to move. Did you let your migrant contact know? Have you withdrawn from school? Do you have a copy of the report card or the transcript? And we'll be producing these cards for the families to carry around with them both in paper and digitally, just as a nod or a reminder that, hey, here are a couple of things that you can do that will help you. And the fun thing about this is that kids can do these things too. So if they know, hey, I need to let my migrant recruiter or service provider or my teacher know that I'm getting ready to move, that's helpful. So again, involving the whole family so that the kids too can learn to advocate for themselves. One of the other things that we're going to be working on is connecting families to those local school programs. So parents out there, think about that local school program that your child may have, like Power School is one that I'm very familiar with. And that's where all your children's grades, attendance, assignments, etc. are housed. And there's usually a parent portal. So on any given day of the week, parents out there, you probably can go in and look at your local program, Power School or like that, and see, did your child submit the assignment? What was the grade they got on it? Are they missing any days, or how many days have they been absent? And so we know this is a really valuable tool. We want to make sure that our migratory parents are tapping into that. And not just the parents. Parents and older children can sit down and look at this together, and it fosters communication and conversation about their education and academic success.
Michelle, there
Yes.
are some questions in the chat.
Oh, all right. Are we going to take questions as we go or save them for the end, or how do you all want to do that?
However you would like to do it.
All right. Shoot.
Okay, 1, will parents have to self-report?
I'm sorry, self-report for which piece?
I'm just reading the question.
Yep.
So Alex, if you want more information, type it in the chat and we'll get it to Michelle. And then there was a question about, would you consider creating some type of MEP ID that is a child's name with the M6 ID number or some basic information?
Great. So thank you. If, like you said, if that first person wants to elaborate a little bit, and everyone has my email, so I don't address a question today, I'd be happy to follow up via email or phone so we can make it more personal. The second question about the Migrant ID. So the consortium work group has had some conversation about that. Apparently in the past, there have been some programs that created little cards that may have had the M6 numbers on them. There's a good deal of concern about data security and personally identifiable information. So we'll have to see how that work group progresses, and when we weigh in with the migrant program directors from our member states, where that goes. But right now I would say that there is overwhelming concern about data security. So I don't know that there'd be any sort of MEP ID that we're really looking at. Thank you for the question. Okay, so year 1 also is not just about the parents and the families and the kiddos, but also about the schools and the migrant program folks. And so one of the things that again, our member states and our work groups are doing, we'll be looking at parent activities through a slightly different lens. And what this work group has created is the lens of involvement versus engagement versus empowerment. And I know many states are already sort of looking at activities through this lens. Is it something that's a standalone event? Maybe it's a literacy night and it might happen once a year, once during your summer program. Maybe it's actually something that's a little bit once a month, but whoever shows up, and it operates as kind of just a standalone. That's fantastic. And there's definitely the need and room for standalone events like that. Some of the states are thinking more in terms of engaging activities, and this is where there's a series of events that are connected. And so the involvement of the families is a little bit more and beyond sort of coming, attending, and getting a greater awareness like there would be with those standalone involvement events. So if we're looking at our literacy example, this might be a monthly pre-K learn and play group, but there are things that they'll do before they get there, information they gather while they're there, and things that the group might do when they leave there. So activities to take back home, use with the kids, maybe the task of sharing with their neighbors. And then there's that empowerment piece. And so really, how are we engaging parents as full partners? How are we pulling them together, helping build leadership skills, and enabling them to be mentors to other parents in the community? And so that would be that last piece. And so this group is putting together a number of documents and some tools to be able to think about what is currently happening, what kind of activities are there, and are there any that need to move from one level to another? So from involvement to engagement, or engagement to empowerment, and then how might that happen? Looking ahead, next year and year 2, we'll focus on what's happening at home. So what are parents doing behind the scenes that we can't see that really does support the education of their children? And there's some really great research out there about the fact that even if parents aren't literate in English or any language, or if they haven't graduated from school themselves, or regardless of whatever their educational background is, that there are many wonderful things that they can do in the home that show their children that education is important and that they support it. One of the things that the consortium will be able to do is put together some literacy activities to be used across grades and ages. So not only do we know that literacy is one of the great equalizers, but we also want to reinforce that literacy involves things like oral storytelling and traditions, looking at books without using the words, and all the wonderful things that come with just bonding, the bonding that happens between parent and child when you sit down and you look at books together. And so we'll be supporting the families not only with books to look at, but some activities that can be done across ages and grades with parents and children who have any language and level of literacy. And then the other big thing that will happen next year is working with families to think about educational aspirations and how to achieve them. And also other, this tool that we're going to develop that will talk about how to get from point A to point B. So if I know I want to graduate from high school, let's not wait until the end to say, oh, I'm missing some credits, right? So how do we plan that out ahead? But not just high school or getting to college, those things that happen along the way. And so how do we break down, for example, a big long project that's overwhelming that a child might have in 6th grade so that it's pieced out, it's scheduled out, and all of a sudden something that seems impossible becomes manageable. So this whole notion of understanding aspirations, setting our intentions, figuring out how we're going to achieve the goal and getting from point A to point B. And then year 3, that's the connections with community. And that's really going to be an exciting year. We want to tap into the parent leaders from different linguistic and cultural groups and make sure that they're helping to bridge any gap between that community and educators or school. And we want to engage the community resources. So there'll be some partnership opportunities with community agencies in year 3. And of course, this will be individualized for each of the member states. So look to our website and look to future webinars down the line for outcomes of all of these different activities and tasks and projects that I've just referenced that we'll undertake over the next few years. So some exciting news, and this will back me up just a little bit. One of the previous consortia that just ended in September was the Preschool Initiative. And a number of resources that were available through the Preschool Initiative website or the clearinghouse really did engage families. You know, when we think about educating preschoolers, parents are the first teachers. And so a number of the different materials were directed to parents and caretakers And we want to make sure that that information isn't lost. So I'm really happy to be able to say that a good number of materials and resources from the Preschool Initiative website, which is still active now, will ultimately be available through Impact when the PI website is no longer available, so that you all will still be able to access all of those resources. If for some reason you're not familiar with what's on there, I just wanted to provide an example of one of the things that we'll be able to house for the Preschool Initiative when their website is no longer available. In their last year, they put together a number of resources to send home to families for the migrant staff to be able to help the families carry out remotely, but the families pretty much had to be able to go from step A, you know, to the end with minimal support or support via virtual tools like Zoom and recordings and things like that. And so they were STEM-based units. They got 3 of them. One was on creating a squirrel-proof bird feeder, one was on building boats that float, and the other was on making paper airplanes that could actually fly. And what the parents received, or what the kiddos and the parents received in each case, were activity cards that were written in a couple of different languages, English and Spanish, all of the materials, and then the staff supported them in a number of different ways. So we want to make sure that you all have access to these materials also, like I said, and you'll find them on our Impact website in the near future. And the Preschool Initiative website is still active, so all you have to do is go to preschoolinitiative.org if you're looking for some information now to help your families of preschoolers at home, specifically 3, 4, 5-year-olds not yet in kindergarten. And speaking of our website, I will point out that we are really looking forward to launching this and making it public by the beginning of March, so around March 1st. Head to www.impact.org, and there you'll be able to see 2 primary strands of information. One is for educators and advocates, so that's our migrant staff, and then the other is directly for the parents and the caretakers of the children out there that we serve. We'll have a number of other exciting things on the website. It'll highlight current events, activities that the member states are engaged in, articles, research, etc. And just a couple of examples of what you might find on there. If you look at the picture of the lady at the top that says engagement starts with trust, that's Karen Mapp. Karen is a big researcher in building homeschool and family partnerships. She's recently released some new research that identifies trust as one of the key factors in establishing a strong relationship between educators and families. And she goes further to talk about the importance of the 2-way communication. So communication not only coming from schools or educators to families, but also from families to schools and educators. And so again, just examples of what we will be highlighting on our site. So there are a couple of articles, including and research that she's done as one example. The other 2 examples that you see here are materials that some of our member states are using or activities that they are conducting. They're not all just materials, but or programs, but activities that they're doing. So I just wanted to highlight a couple again as examples of the things that you'll find on our website. One is Ready for K, and this is a way to engage parents through texting. It's kind of neat. On Monday, parents sign up. You give the age of the child. It's good for kids who are birthed through about 4th grade, 10 years old. And on Monday, they'll get a text with some new information. It might be something simple like reading is good for children. On Wednesday, they get an action item, and on Friday, they get an extension item. It's accessible really by a lot of the migratory parents because it only involves texting. So we don't have to worry about more complex technology for getting information to the kiddos and whatnot. And then parent cafes is another example. This is a way to bring folks together in a way that they feel safe. They have one another to talk about. And you see here in the picture, they often focus on the protective factors, which include things like resilience and relationship, knowledge, support, communication. And so these are just 2 things used in a couple of our member states. And I wanted to highlight them just to say everybody's always interested in what's going on out there and what other states are doing. That will be a special part of our website where we can share what's happening in our member states. And lastly, we are sending out monthly email campaigns that have some of the research, the articles, and just, you know, what's new out there. So if you're interested, this is just an example of a snippet of one that was recently sent to our member states. But they're not just for the member states. So if you're interested in becoming part of one of our email campaigns and getting information on upcoming webinars that we may be having and whatnot, please feel free to reach out to me, and I will, with your name and your email and your permission, sign you up, and then you'll be on our mailing list. So thank you very much. I don't know if there were any other questions at this point. All right. I think no news is good news then. Thank you, everyone. Bill, I'm going to hand the baton over to you.
All right, thanks, Michelle. Let me get this ready to go. I trust everyone can see and hear me. Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Bill Bansberg, and I'm representing the Migrant Parent Empowerment Consortium. We're the second consortium that's focused on parent involvement, as well as the facilitation of academic success for kids. This consortium takes some similar approaches, but also some very different approaches in that we are working with materials and a system that has been in place for a while and was built by previous consortiums. So the Migrant Parent Empowerment Consortium, or MPEC, its purpose, the goal of it, is to develop effective resources to facilitate the academic success of migrant kids using parents as partners. In partnership with teachers, in partnership with MEP staff, and bringing the parent in to actually facilitate and help their kids with reading, writing, and mathematics. The participant states for this consortium, Utah is the lead state, Hawaii, Minnesota, New Hampshire, Nevada, North Dakota, South Dakota, Montana, and Virginia are the partner states with the MPEC consortium. This is what the entire 3 years is in a nutshell. There are several things that we will do. One is to build, many of you are familiar with the Migrant Literacy Net. If you're not, a lot of this will be built around and into the Migrant Literacy Net, which includes a lot of resources, which I'll talk about in a second. But one of the things that we're going to build into the Migrant Literacy Net is a parent portal. So parents will be able to log on to the system and be guided in a way that they can actually work with their own kids in reading, writing, and mathematics. The Migrant Literacy Net is a system that's set up so that it can be accessed not only on your personal computer if you have Wi-Fi, but it can be accessed using a tablet or even a smartphone. So if you have access to cell service, you can access the system and the resources that are on it. The system has a lot of resources already on it, but one of the things that we will be developing and we're working on this year is online math screeners, which will identify student needs. And these will target algebra readiness, and the screeners will actually not only identify the student needs, but be able to assign tutorials in mathematics to meet those student needs. The second year of the consortium will be developing online math and literacy, second and third year, online math and literacy tutorials. We already have a lot of reading and literacy tutorials on the system, but we'll be developing the math section of that now. We will be developing, as part of this year, parent training to show parents how they can actually work with their own kids to facilitate, and the teachers in the schools, to facilitate improvement in reading, improvement in mathematics. There will also be, as part of the system, an online education plan. So if parents want to improve their own reading and math, they can use the system to do that. That'll be something we'll be implementing the second and third year. We will be developing parent advocates in every state, parent advocates teams that will be able to work with families to go out and show them how to use these resources. And we'll be altering the student success plan on the Migrant Literacy Net to include STEM goals, which are, science, technology, and engineering, mathematics schools. So that'll be all part of the 3 years of developing all of these resources, which will go with which will be facilitated with parents. Let me just talk about the Migrant Literacy Net very quickly. We will be adding this parent portal by May 2021. There already are on the Migrant Literacy Net a teacher access teacher portal as well as a student portal. The address to reach the system is www.migrantliteracynet.com. You can also go to www.meetingliteracyneeds.com. It'll take you to the same place. The system is free and anybody can log on and create their own username and password. So if you're a teacher, you can log on, create your username and password, and then you can assign resources like online tutorials to kids or online screeners that'll identify their needs. It'll be the same setup for parents. Parents will be able to log on, they'll be trained how to do this, and then follow a procedure or a process in which they can actually work with their own kids and the teachers to facilitate reading as well as math proficiency. So the parent portal will be added by May. These are some of the resources that are already available in the Migrant Literacy Net. For teachers, there's almost 300 lesson plans complete with all the materials that they would need to teach for reading, writing, and math, as well as study skills and OSY life skills. All of these lessons are mapped to Common Core standards as well as the WIDA standards. These are things that you can go on and you can download and you can use as they are. As far as student resources, there are online reading screeners at this time immediately where you can identify student needs in reading, and these screeners will automatically assign online tutorials to kids. This year we'll be adding the online math screeners, and those online math screeners will be able to assign math tutorials to kids starting year 2. At present, there are 339 online reading tutorials in both English and Spanish, and they cover almost every aspect that you can imagine. Every reading skill you can think of are pretty much covered online. And all of these tutorials include pre-tests and post-tests. So when kids go online, they take a pre-test, it will assess where they are when they start, and then they go through the tutorial and assesses if they've had some gains when they're done. There are parent resources already on the system. We'll obviously be adding a lot to that system, but they include right now reading and writing activities for parents in both English and Spanish that parents can use those activities to work with their kids. They're kind of fun activities that help teach aspects and specific reading skills. There's an online electronic graduation plan already on the system that parents can work with teachers to help kids overcome barriers to high school graduation. And then we'll be adding the parent portal here coming up in May, as well as resources that will be field tested beginning in summer of 2021. Okay, resources that are in the system right now, I just mentioned there's resources in English and Spanish that you can go to right now that parents can use. Up to this juncture, the way it worked was teachers would go on and then direct parents to this or print these out for parents. The way we will set it up in the future is that parents will be able to go directly to the resources and download them. And there's all these activities on there for teaching literacy to kids. And they're in both English and Spanish. Oops, didn't mean that. Okay, there's also graduation plans. The graduation plan is a way of setting up a partnership with the school and with the teachers to facilitate and help kids overcome barriers to high school graduation. One of the biggest issues, of course, one of the things that prompted the start of migrant education was the fact that so many kids were not graduated from high school. And when you look at the research, it comes down to a lot of specific things, not necessarily all of them academic. Sometimes it's, missing credits because of mobility. It could be limited English proficiency. It could be a lot of different things. But the idea behind these plans is that parents would work directly with teachers and the schools to design and help kids overcome challenges to graduation. Now, these have been in place for a while on the migrant literacy, and a variety of folks use them. Part of our training for parents will be to show them how to use these and to encourage them to partner with teachers to use the graduation plans. Now we get to, yes.
There's been some questions in regard to resources in other languages. I know you mentioned Spanish.
Right.
Any other plans for additional languages?
Not at this point. There's some, it would be really not possible. I mean, we're able to do the resources all in English and Spanish. About 85% of all migrant kids are, are Spanish, come from Spanish-speaking households or are Spanish speakers. So that's what we have to go with. In order for us to go with other languages, as far as the tutorials and the screeners, would be beyond what we can do. But we're open to any suggestions if people have some ideas. Everything is set up for English and Spanish because that's primarily the kids we're working with, although I'm very aware that there are many other migrant kids that speak other languages. But primarily we're working with English and Spanish. To kind of shift, did that answer that question? Maybe not ideally, but that's the answer.
Thank you.
This is part of the new part of the system that will be added. We will be creating, we have on here success plans for teachers to use, but we're setting up success plans for parents to use. And these will be in both English and Spanish. And what happens is a parent would go on and we will train parents to use them. That's one of the things these parent advocates will work with. But parents will be able to go on and simply list the kids in the family and go straight to a success plan in which the parents are asked questions. This is an example that's here. Is you've got a child up here, Sofia Aguilera, who's in grade 2. And so the parent puts the names of their kids on the list, and then the success plan appears for each student. And basically the parents just ask some questions. This child is a beginning reader and needs help learning letter sounds, words, punctuation, etc. If the parent clicks yes on that, then the child will automatically be assigned a series of screeners to identify what their needs were for beginning readers. And then once they've identified those needs, tutorials will automatically be assigned to that child. And then the parents will be shown how to use let the kids access the system, and the kids can go ahead and take the screeners as well as the tutorials. And we'll have the same setup in Spanish. So, and everything will kind of lead the parents through exactly what to do, including adding audio to the system so that parents will be walked right through exactly how to use it. So that's one of the key things that will happen for students. They will be able to be assigned these screening tools, which will identify what their needs are in not just reading, but also in mathematics. And then they will be able to be assigned online tutorials, which will help facilitate their progress in reading and target specific reading skills based on what skills they might be missing, what needs they might have. And all of these scores will be available so that the parents can see what kind of gains the kids are making. So you see you've got a pre-test score and a post-test score. This is just an example that I threw up here. The parents will also be able to assign tutorials. Now, whether or not that's going to be something that will pan out or work well, we'll have to see in the future. But just like a teacher, they'll be able to assign additional ones. It's something we'll have to experiment with to see how it works. All of this will be being field tested in the summer and the fall of this year.
Bill, there were a few more questions.
Sure, go ahead.
One, I think people would like to know how do students create an account? And I don't know if that was sufficiently answered or not. So you may want to I don't know about that one. And then will any parent be able to sign up in the portal or just member states?
Any parent
Okay.
from any state can sign up in the portal. We'll be providing trainings to specific member states, and then any other state that's interested in that can call us and we'll work something out. As far as the way the system is set up, the students, everything is assigned to kids. And so either teachers have to assign that, because if you look at this, a student would not be able to know what to assign to themselves, even when it comes to screeners. So the way the system is designed is initially it was the teacher would assign to students all of these things. And then based on what happened, the teacher would assign, screeners to the student to try and find out what their needs were. And then the screeners would assign the tutorials. The new part that we're adding to the system is we're setting up so now that now parents can actually work with their own kids to help the kids to help assign specific things to kids. When it comes to the student portal, there is no student registration where a student can simply go on themselves and try and figure out what they should be, accessing in terms of resources. The system's designed so that the resources are assigned in a way that will make sense, so the student will receive what they need. And obviously the best person to be assigning them is the teacher. Second best is parents working with teachers. And so that's the way we've designed the system. So the student portal, basically a student is given a password and a username, and the student goes on, and then there will already be tutorials and screeners assigned to that student. And so all they have to do is go on and the system will assign a password to the student as soon as the teacher or a parent assigns screeners or tutorials. So the student will go on and those will automatically be assigned. Does that make sense? I think I'm running out of time, so let me just kind of cover this real quickly. There will be parent advocate teams in every state. Their purpose is to provide assistance to migrant parents in using the Migrant Literacy Net tool, walk families through the online resources, show families how to use the tools to support their kids. They'll work with capacity building and support with community agencies as well as the schools. They will attend professional development. We'll have regular professional development and training for the parent advocates in the states, as well as open it up so that parents themselves can take training to learn how to use the system. And additional will be finally be just work with and support parents in a variety of ways. Okay, I think I probably used up all my time. There's the contact information if you are interested in more information about the system or where we're going over the next 3 years. Be glad to, please feel free to contact me or Alice Martinez-Bansberg. And that's the information there. Are there any other questions right now?
Bill, I think there were some questions still in the chat, one about Google Translate and some other things. If you want to respond to those in the chat box, I'm going to share my screen.
Okay, all right, let me stop the share here. Thank you, folks.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. I am Tracy Kalick. I am the director of ISOC. I'm going to pop on so you can see what I look like, and then I'm going to pop off. So most of you know me. For those of you who don't, hello, nice to see you, or at least talk to you today. So, okay, why is it not working? Well, I apologize. I had it set up and it bounced back to the beginning. So I am sorry about that. So give me one moment and we will get there. Okay. I'm going to make sure that you can see my screen. All right, now it should work. Okay, awesome. So ISOC stands for Instructional Services for Out of School and Secondary Youth. And Kansas is our lead state. I did see some Kansas folks on there. Hello, Hayes and Liberal and Oakley. The consortium is headed up by Kansas as the lead state, and Doug Boleen is our state MEP director. These are our states. We have 18 member states, and the work of ISOCI is really designed to build capacity in these 18 states to really look at how we support the success of migratory out-of-school youth and secondary age youth at risk of dropping out of high school. So as you can see, there's a real need for our consortium. If you look at this data, I think you will find it as troubling as I do. 45% of secondary migratory students are at risk of dropping out. We know that there are multiple barriers in place. We know there's still a lot of work we need to do to help our out-of-school youth receive and connect to a high school equivalency diploma while within the MEP. There's only 1% of OSY who do that. As I said, there are the barriers in front of you. Limited English proficient, inflexible work schedules oftentimes, homelessness, trauma, limited prior schooling, and obviously high mobility. There's also not as many opportunities for traditional pathways to a diploma. We know they have limited pathways, and we're going to talk about some ways that our consortium is going to be meeting those needs. So as I mentioned, we're about increasing state and staff capacity, and our focus is on improving the educational attainment of OSY and secondary students at risk of dropping out. So how are we doing this? Well, you can see at the bottom of the screen, you'll see our web address, osymigrant.org. If you have not been to our website recently, please check it out. We have some exciting changes, including making it web responsive. So it will look the same on a laptop as it does on a tablet, as it does on a student's cell phone. We have a simplified menu, and it's easier to navigate. The other thing we did is we really focused on providing, and we took the initiative to do this ourselves, to address a gap here for our migrant students, families, and service providers in providing the most up-to-date and accurate COVID-19 resources. So there is the address for the Padlet. It is accessible via our website as well, but this has webinars. It has information translated into multiple languages from the CDC about COVID-19. We have information about checking in regard to mental health, self-care assessment. I really advise you to take a look at this. There's a wealth of information, and we're updating it continuously. The other thing we've done, from March until now, we've hosted, as you're going to see on these next two slides, a variety of webinars. The webinars have helped address the professional learning needs of almost 2,000 educators and service providers around the country. And you'll look, they run the gamut from understanding some of our materials to strategies to work remotely with students, to look at engagement and relationship building, to understand the effects of COVID-19 on students and service providers. Give me a moment. We've also been quite busy updating, producing professional development, professional learning modules. We also have a variety of modules on the website, including how to work with students with limited interrupted formal education. What is growth mindset? What do I need to know as an instructor? Tell me about out-of-school youth. What do I need to know? Working with language learners, differentiation, and then developing and looking at an instructional action plan. The other thing we've done, because we've heard from many of you around the country that you need help providing virtual support. So we have provided documents on the website that provide QR codes for students and instructors, and they're easy to access. We've also denoted whether it's appropriate for an out-of-school youth or secondary student or both. So if you're interested in any of these, you can shoot me an email. I'm happy to send it to you and guide you in the right direction on the website if you can't find it. And I realize I'm going to be talking very fast because I know Jessica, we want to give time for her as well. So in development, we have a number of very exciting things in development right now. One I want to touch base on is our pathways plan. It's about looking at roadblocks and removing them. So how do we get to success? What is our pathway? Whether our student is an OSY who has expressed interest in earning a high school equivalency, or getting into a HEP program, or wants to start their own business and be an entrepreneur. So the emphasis will be placed on helping MEP staff identify students' needs, academics, and motivation as we introduce this pathways concept. We're going to look at HiSED, HEP, credentialing, and entrepreneurship. The emphasis will be provided on developing materials and supports for students at all levels. And we'll also have a strong focus on ensuring our service providers around the country have a base of knowledge about the opportunities available to them. And I'm very excited about this new focus as well on entrepreneurship and small business coursework. We will, in collaboration, of course, and you're going to see as we move forward, there's a lot of cross collaboration between these ideas, between the development of these new materials. We also will have a career awareness toolkit developed, and it will address these 5 areas. So looking at career inventories, career awareness, what do I need to know to pursue my passion and dream? Goal setting, self-awareness, skills and resources, and then finally, what type of education do I need to pursue in order to achieve that particular career? We are also very excited about this. This is in the works. It's our student portal. So the student site on the web page is going to be changing drastically and in exciting ways this next year. We're going to unveil a new student portal, which we envision being an online gateway to where OSY and secondary youth can really access lessons and educational resources appropriate to their learning goals. It will have live lessons, a link to recorded classes. We're looking at leveled classes, catalog of collected favorite lessons, a YouTube channel, and a Padlet page. So we're envisioning that the student portal becomes a one-stop shop for student access to engaging learning. The other piece, and these will then be highlighted on the student portal, we are in development of what we're calling our STAT lessons, short, targeted, and timely. How many of you, and I'm thinking about the recruiters out there as well, who've said, I wish there was a short, easy to deliver lesson that I could do in a very specific amount of time. And so we're in the development, as I said, of these STAT lessons, that they're going to address the practical needs of beginning level English language learners. They're going to be targeted to specific situations and designed to be delivered in about 30 to 40 minutes. And the great thing about them is they're going to be very engaging, but focus on how to practice and apply language learned in everyday life situation. So be on the lookout for those. The other thing is we have a COVID-19 lesson available. It has been designed and based upon our life skills lessons. If you use them, you know that they are focused on vocabulary and comprehension. And the COVID-19 lesson will look at providing information focused on key vocabulary. And we will have the lesson, currently it is developed in English and Spanish. There will be accompanying videos as well to make it engaging and interactive for students. But we also will have it available in Korean, Swahili, and Arabic. And we're very excited about that. The next thing, if you haven't been on the website and taken a look at English for Daily Life, I encourage you to do so. These are highly interactive and engaging online lessons. Again, very topical areas of interest. The lessons include a variety of activities that can be done in person and virtual learning environments. The lessons themselves are enhanced with images, electronic and paper flashcards, games, audio and video recordings, and hands-on comprehension activities to include feedback. We use Kia, Quizlet, Edpuzzle to enhance students' learning experiences. There's also a language widget, which allows you to transform the text into multiple languages. It won't change the videos that are there, but the text on the page will show up in whatever language you choose, which is really exciting. We also have developed, we have the lesson on grocery stores and shopping. We have developed a 4-week lesson plan. If you don't know where to begin, we're handing it to you. It's really exciting to be able to show you exactly where to start with the shopping lesson and progress through a 4-week lesson plan, but you can also pick and choose. If you have a limited amount of time, you could go to this lesson and it's all laid out for you. The other thing I wanted to mention, which is very exciting, is students themselves have been accessing the emergencies lesson. And one thing that they're really interested in is the 911, how to call, when to call 911. And we know that that has been accessed almost 1,000 times by students around the country. And I think that's very telling in our current environment right now. The last thing I want to mention is more professional learning is being developed. We are looking at developing 3 additional modules, one on digging deeper into virtual learning tools, doing an iSoci virtual website tour, and digital literacy for migrant students. We know this one is really needed. And then the last thing I wanted to share is our personal wellness training package. If you have not been on the website, please check this out. It provides you with an entire training package, both narrative and PowerPoint training materials to understand what adverse childhood experiences are, trauma-informed care, cultural responsiveness in trauma, resilience, mindfulness, self-care, and then best practices. We are also currently developing a section on suicide prevention. And one final thing before I turn it over to Jessica. Next week on February 8th, we will be hosting Dr. Mona Johnson, who is a specialist in trauma-informed care and support. She is going to be doing a webinar on professional self-care, the antidote to combating compassion fatigue and secondary traumatic stress. If you're interested, I'll make sure that this gets out on our listserv and we'll send it out to Jessica, Michelle, and Bill. Thank you.
Thanks, Tracy. That's a lot of, you guys got a lot of stuff going on. Okay, so let me see if I can share my screen. Okay, just a second. Okay, so I'm going to kind of go back and forth between our website and the resources that we're sharing. So one of our real, and I'm going to make my face go away here for a second. One of our real focus is really trying to make sure that we help streamline ID&R efforts. And I come from a background where we always had a lot of limited funding when I was working in the migrant program. So we really feel that if we can streamline ID&R, it will hopefully free up some funds that you can use that to serve more kids. So I did put the picture of kids here because I think we all have so many requirements and so many things that we're trying to do, but we really want to make sure that in IDRC, we're focusing on making things more streamlined so that the end is that we all can serve the kids that we're trying to find. So all of our resources are free and they are available to all. And so some of the things I'm going to share are things that we are currently working on with our member states that other states can do the same thing or have access to the same tools. And then some are just things that are already on our website that you can go ahead and access. So for my slides, they're not too jazzy here. They just basically have the link and I'm going to tell you a little bit about each thing. So I'm going to go ahead and share the website page just so you know where it's at. So the first few things I'm going to talk about is the assessment, some mini quizzes, and a lot of you are familiar with these, where we keep the webinars and some newsletters. And then I'm going to go look some kind of more in depth of some of the things that we've got. So let me see if I can share this with you. So basically, when you go to the IDRC website, you're just gonna, for some of you, if you haven't seen it before, we try to keep a lot of our main things right here, easy to find on these first tiles. And if you scroll down, we have a lot of information on our front page. And so you can kind of, this very first thing that we have is the competency skills assessment. This is available for every single state. It was developed by IRRC, and also a while ago, we were working with Consortium on some of the questions, but it is an assessment designed to just, you can click on here, you can request to get registration for it. It can be used in a lot of different ways. So you can take the assessment and see what you didn't understand and then train your staff on that. You can use some of our other tools that we have to prepare for it, but it's an assessment to just look at basic IDNR, all the areas that could come into play that a recruiter should know. So that's right there on the front of our website. Next to it, we realized that not everyone wanted a super formal assessment. They maybe just wanted some self-study things. So we continue to add new quizzes here, and we do have a TST group that is working on new assessments and updating the competency skills assessment, for example, so that we have a way bigger question bank. And so every time you take the assessment, it's a little bit different, but still covers the same things. But you can click on, there's a little module over here on the side that you can study. And this is really helpful for brand new recruiters, for example, to kind of learn about the migratory child and then go ahead and take the migratory child assessment. And it will tell them the results of how they did, and kind of they can see where, where they might have, where they may need some extra help. In addition, we have scenarios. Several of you are on our newsletter. We just started this month a scenarios newsletter, so that on the beginning of the month, we'll send out some scenarios, and on the 15th, we'll send out the answers to those. We do have a way on these scenarios here, the scenario page, that you can actually share your own scenarios. So if you click right here, and there'll come up a Survey Monkey link, and you can send us a question that you want, that you just would like to have answered maybe in one of those resources that we're sending out, or you can send an actual scenario from your state. And if it looks like it's something that we can put on there and share with everybody, we will put that on our newsletter. So if you want that newsletter, you can go to our website here where it just says newsletters, and click on newsletters, and you can always sign up for the monthly newsletter. So I'll go ahead and throw that in the chat box if anybody right now finds that helpful. I'm sorry for my emails right there. Okay, so there is that. You can see I can't do too many things at once because I get lost. Okay, so going back to the slides, those are, well, I tell you what, I'll just kind of go down. I know all the other things are right here. Another thing, we do have a lot of webinars that we do, and we post what's upcoming right here on our upcoming webinars. We have, today's, and later on today, I will actually archive everything, the presentation files, and the audio recording. We always archive those. And so you can always check here and see for the webinars and any upcoming training that is available to all states. We did pretty much open most of our trainings that we provide to all states, because we feel like we've already have 26 states involved with us, and we feel like if we can help provide information to everybody, hopefully that's helpful. It will just make it easier for everybody. So you can always go back. We will record them, and you can listen to those later. We just have a brand new resource that we just put up yesterday, which we're really excited about, that we are now monthly or every 6 weeks we'll update this. And these are, if you take a look, there's a map for each state, all of our member states, but we also did ISOC states. And then up here, there's a national map list. So if you're not one of these states, you can always just pull out your information. And we have a map that is corresponding through batch geo. And all of the passwords for every single one of these will always be IDRC. So you can just go ahead and open them up. But what this is a listing. So you can get the Excel sheet, but then you can also see the actual map that we've created through batch geo, and you kind of play around with it over here on the description file. My computer's going to be a little bit, no, don't save this. The batch geo maps are pretty cool. You can click on them, and if they load up here, it may take a little bit, you can actually see them in different ways. So we'll be providing some trainings coming up on how to use these. But the neat thing is on our website, you can access all of these right here on the front on that H2A maps. We have specifically the Excel sheet that will download for the state. And then there will be a little map icon that you can see the map icon. You can see the map. The map can be used on your phone. And like I said, we'll have a lot more information coming out from this, but we are pulling it from the Spotlight tool. So if you're not familiar with that, on the same website, we do have more information about the Spotlight tool that you can click on. So more will be coming soon with this. This is brand new. And so We are also working with all of our IDRC states to give them really comprehensive maps of listings of all of their farms, their agribusiness, their hemp. And so we hope to have most of those finished by next month. And so all of our IDRC states will have access to that. So going back to our website for a few more things I wanted to share. We also have an electronic survey tool, referral tool, basically right here. And so when you click on this link, the idea is if you wanted to share this referral tool with someone, maybe a community agency, maybe a school, maybe a farm, this is a way, it's a secure way, and we can, if anyone needs to see the security or see any of the information, this was created through IRRC. And you can click on here and there is a simple referral tool that you can use. You can change, right now we just have it in English and Spanish, but we are going to be adding more languages very soon. It's a very simple tool that you can go in, fill out. It takes about 2 pages of just filling out information. And then it will be routed to the closest recruiter that has an account to be able to access the referral information. So any state that wants more information about this, we have a ton of information on our website about it. So if you want to learn more here, when you click on it, sorry, I'm clicking too much. There's something called training tools. And Justin Settles, who works with me and is wonderful, has created a whole bunch of training videos. We have a training manual. We have brochures that are available to everyone that people can use to see, if you want to share it with a farm, and kind of explains what the referral tool does and how you can work and and it's kind of geared towards any state. This is available to all. We will do a free training so that you can access it. You don't have to be a member of an IDRC state to be able to access that. We also have available for everyone, the ISOC has a wonderful list of these too. We just have it also here, and we have a few additional ones that we've added on. We have a lot of books and audio files, the English in Minutes books there, there's also some Spanish books. These are helpful for farmers that maybe if they're wanting to learn Spanish, this is the same kind of thing we can give to workers. It's also can be given and there is one for Somali families also. So let me go back to my slides. I think my time is getting close. Let me stop share this and see if I can share my slides again. If I can find them on my computer. Here we go. Okay, now I need to share them. Make sure I'm sharing the right thing. Okay. So these, just to make sure I'm not forgetting something, just a few things. So we also have ag census information, and coming later on this month, we're going to have a new IDNR coordinator or IDNR supervisor kind of networking meeting once a month, every 6 weeks or so. We'll have about a 10-minute conversation of something we're presenting, maybe a subject. The first one is kind of things that are working right now in the pandemic with recruiting. And then we'll open it up to people across the country that you can share and ask questions and be able to go ahead and converse with each other, and we'll kind of guide that discussion. But we'll hold those. We have a TST group that is developing training for coordinators, and we want to get a lot of feedback from you guys on things that you need, but also we'll be presenting information that we have found helpful, and then get feedback, and people can share ideas of things that are working. So things that are available for our current states is those that are members, the 26 states, they can request any real training that they want. We have a lot of different topics on our website that they can request. It also can be tailored to their needs. We will have the batch geo resource for the mapping available to all 26 states. They'll be able to create their own maps. That will be coming this month. We have a really cool tool called Connect Team that is a way to kind of do reporting with recruiters, everything from service logs to daily reports to mileage. And it's an app, and states can customize it for themselves and really make the tools that they want their recruiters to be using. And it's pretty simple to use. So we are currently piloting it with our TST group, but we will open it up to all of our members. Connect Team does exist for any state. So you would have to just buy your own membership to it, and we can definitely share what we're doing, but we are buying the membership for all of our members. For 500 people, it only costs $5,000. So that gives you an idea of it's pretty easy, cost wise. You can just have 2 or 3 memberships, or you can have, all the way up to the 500. So we were trying to pick something that if our IDRC states could use, other states can also replicate that if they find that that's helpful. And then we do have our projects that we're working on with each of our groups. We're looking at assessments, we're looking at tracking, we're looking at mapping, and then we also have a data reconciliation group that is working on tools that will help with data reconciliation. And so some of those will be available pretty soon. So I believe that I've talked about most of my, most of the things that we're working on. We are, one new thing that we'll be posting and start this probably later on this month is we're going to have kind of self-guided training modules on, it can either be something that you present to your staff, or it can be something that recruiters can sit and listen and do things on their own. And we're going to do it on just a wide range of IDR topics that could be helpful. And so we hope that we're also going to work more with national partnerships with ag and farm related resources that work in a lot of different states. And so we're starting some of those this month and hope to get that information out. So that's what I've got. I know that one of the things we wanted to do is make sure that we had time for questions. And so here's my information, but we want to make sure that any of us, any of the previous presenters, if you have a question, if you want to put it in the chat box. And then also before we finish, just so that you have it, I'm going to put the evaluation every time we do these. We always try to make sure that we get your input on whether this was helpful for you, if there's suggestions or things that you hope that we cover in the future. So we will have that in the end, but we very much want to take questions. So I'm going to just, and if you don't have any questions, then, then we'll just send you the evaluation, but go ahead and please put those in the box, and then we'll all pay attention to the box. And if it's related to our particular area, then we'll just take turns answering those questions. Can we put the evaluation link in the chat? I knew someone was going to ask that. I need to get, yes, we can. So let me get that up there. So we will put the slides for IDRC, and I'm sure for ISOC, those will be up on the website. For ours, for IDRC, everyone, it'll be on the webinar page. And I think, ISOC, you guys have it. Go ahead.
I was just going to say we'll have it up as well on our website.
Says, how can we use social media to improve in our recruiting efforts? So we do have a training that we provide specifically on how to work with social media. Creasy, I'm not sure what state you're from, but we do record those. And so if you would like a recording of that, if you email me, I can definitely share that with you of some concrete ideas of how to use social media with IDNR. Okay, Pennsylvania. If you'll email us, maybe we can all put our emails too, just here so everybody has them. So the PowerPoint will have everybody's slides on there. So all of them will be there. Okay, we don't need you guys' emails. I'm sorry, we're going to put our emails so that you can contact us, just so that if you need something from us, you guys can reach out. Looks like we don't have too many questions, so maybe that's a good thing. Okay, I'm going to stop the recording just so that we have